Joining us is Shawn Herrin, president of the Firearms Radio Network and host of the popular gun podcast, We Like Shooting. He's with us today talking life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Let's get howlin'. I have the one and only amazing Shawn Herrin. Holy smokes, you made it. Thank you for spending a little bit of time this afternoon. You know, we were supposed to have you and Aaron Krieger on this call, but Aaron apparently figured, you know, taking his kids to the water park in his minivan was more important. But that's par for the course, right?
Yeah, that's perfectly in character for Aaron.
I don't know how you put up with that guy. I tell you.
20 years. We just had our 20-year friendiversary.
Friendiversary.
Surprising. Yeah.
Well, it's pretty cool for you to be here. Thank you. And for folks that have seen you before, know a little bit about you, Shawn is the president, El Presidente of the Firearms Radio Network. And I was just checking that out the other day. You've got, I don't know how many, 15, 20 different podcasts on there that are contributors, I guess, to the network. How's that working out for you?
There was I think maybe 13 when I started, and I think we're up to like 24 on the network now. I've been aggressively adding new podcasts because I want, if it's a outdoor industry podcast, I want it on the Firearms Radio Network. I just think having us all in one place is a great option for the consumer, and everything I do is really for the end user, the people who consume the media that we do, because that's who I am, and I'm basically just self-serving and catering to myself by saying that.
Well, I think most people probably know you as the brainchild and the host of We Like Shooting, along with a couple other characters that we can get into in a little bit, right? But how long has that thing been going?
We are entering our decade, our 10 years.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that's a lot. Yeah. When you think about it, how many podcasts that is, it's a lot.
And they're all fresh.
Everyone... early on, like maybe 2 years into it, they're like, how are you going to come up with stuff to talk about every single time? And I was like, I don't know. It hasn't been hard yet. We'll see. And now we're going into our 10th year, and it's still not difficult. There's always stuff to talk about. There's always new guns, new gizmos, new gadgets, new laws, new techniques, new strategies, new tactics. Just there's always stuff to talk about. And we don't have enough time to talk about it all.
Yeah, I know. Plus you got to slam in all those. Now let's talk about our sponsors, including us. We have been a proud sponsor. If we're going on, I think we just hit a year.
Just hit a year, yeah.
Yeah, so that's pretty cool.
It is really cool, and we're so picky about who we work with. And when we first met you, I was like, I think it'll be interesting to talk about survival food, but I never kind of saw it as somebody that we would actually do business with, just because it wasn't a thing that I knew about. But then we tried it, and we did the challenge, and it worked so well. And it was just, it met all of our criteria to work with. Great people, great company, making a great product. And ever since, yeah, obviously. And as long as you guys want to continue, we'll stay with you.
I'm happy to write this check. You guys do a great job for us. But no, I've said before, you guys are absolutely the best podcast for guns and other assorted potpourri on planet Earth. I mean, you cover a lot of different topics. I think your last one that you just did, you were talking about lock picks, and so I'm like, man, I need to get a lock pick set. I've always wanted to learn how to lock pick, but you're like this international man of mystery.
I'm trying to be.
You're super knowledgeable and versed in just about everything. It's pretty amazing. I love watching you and the crew just talk about everything and anything that makes kind of life interesting in and around. So it's not just like a guns thing. It's gear, it's guns, it's issues. Was there a sort of I don't know how you got into it, but I'd love to hear the story around, I woke up one day and said, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life.
Yeah, absolutely. So it was maybe 11 years ago. I was doing a lot of camping, and I decided, there's bears in Colorado, and I heard something scratching around the tent one night, and I was like, I really should get a gun, because it wasn't, I had grown up knowing guns existed and having shotguns in the summers with my uncle and aunt when I stayed with them up in the mountains, but I didn't have guns, and I'd raised my kids kind of in a gun-free household, not because I thought they were bad, just because I didn't really have any interest. And the bears kind of freaked me out. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to go get a gun. And if I'm going to get a gun, I better go get some training. And then here we are 11 years later, and I just aggressively pursued that. I've got a really addictive personality, but not in like the crystal meth kind of way. I've just if I put my mind into something, I just have to be the best at everything I do. And I'm not, but I really feel this aggressive need to try.
Yeah, no, you're a competitive guy.
I am.
Yeah.
I was a software engineer for a long time, did that forever. And, we ended up just starting the podcast on the side. And then eventually it turned into my double full-time job.
Double full-time. Yeah. I was going to ask you because you pour your heart into just about everything. And now you've got this urban assault vehicle, the We Like Shooting urban assault vehicle. Is that what you call it? What do you call that thing? The cruiser?
Just, yeah. We haven't really named it, just the RV. It's
the RV. Very original.
Yeah.
The RV.
I know, we're killing it on the naming. Can we borrow some marketing people?
Yeah. What is it about guns that you just love them so much now that you went from worrying about a bear breaking in to we like shooting, and you really do love shooting, and it's all you talk about. A lot of the stuff is all you talk about. So, I mean, how do you go from that to, now you're so knowledgeable on everything. You guys run the gamut, and I'm also really curious around how you gathered this motley crew of yours.
Yeah. So I decided to go get a gun, and I went to a gun store not knowing anything, not really having done any research. And I just happened to go into this one place, and they sold me a gun, and I got it, and I bought some ammunition for it, and I took it to the range, and I had no idea what I was doing, and shooting it was terrible, and I hated every part of it. And I was just like, well, I guess shooting guns sucks, but now I at least have one. Yeah. And after another range trip, I decided to go back and take it back and be like, hey, I know that I can't return this, but will you buy it from me and recommend something else? So I lost a couple $100 on that deal and ended up with a different gun that was also a terrible choice. And shot it a little bit. But while I was there the second time, the owner, a man named Paul Paradise, he, chatted me up a little bit, and he said, well, you should really take a concealed carry class. And I have one. I do one once a month. It's 3 days long. And I was like, what? 3 days? That's insane. I don't know why anyone would do this, but I signed up for it. It was $100. So it was no big deal. And, I had weekends free because I didn't have 9 jobs at that time.
Yeah.
So I went and I took the class, and I watched everything that he did. And I really enjoyed the way he taught. He's a very gruff, non-PC guy. And I enjoyed that. And at the end of the class, he said, well, now you can go out. We've taught you how to shoot. The third day of the class is an entire day at the range, shooting every gun you can possibly imagine, just going through and testing everything.
That's
and
fun.
He said, but if you really want to be a good shooter, become an instructor. And that was what started it all for me right there.
There you go. Well, that's what they say about everything. If you can learn a subject, but if you don't really learn it until you can teach it.
Yeah.
So
and
that was good advice.
He was right. He was right. And so I volunteered for him as what did they call us? I don't know, instructor candidate, I think is what they called us. And so once a month I would go teach his absolutely full to the walls, concealed carry class, or help teach it. And, the first year, I think I just worked on pistol fundamentals and shooting fundamentals. And, they try to have a 1-to-1 instructor to student ratio. So I would be stuck with it. About 6 months into it, he started trying to challenge me, and he would give me the people that were blind or one arm or no legs or, so old they couldn't even pull the slide back. And,
is that how you met Aaron? No.
Right. He was one of those decrepits.
Right.
No, but so he would just challenge me. And, I'm not even joking about the blind. I got tasked with instructing a guy who was legally blind, carried a white cane and everything. He could see shapes and blobs. But we got him to pass his qualification. And
that's unbelievable. Well, it just goes to show you, it doesn't take a whole lot, right?
No,
oh my gosh. That's horrible.
I did I did it for a whole year, and he would just challenge me over and over and over again. He must have seen something. And then after about a year, I went and took his instructor certification, and I passed that, based on NRA, basic pistol instructor, whatever. And then after that, he got a contract to teach military police here in Colorado Springs, and he selected a cadre of 6 or 7 of his instructors, and he selected me. And I was kind of shocked about that. Yeah. So I was in this cadre of instructors that was tasked with teaching military police here at Fort Carson in Colorado Springs. And I did that for a year. And not only would we teach the MPs that would come through the course, but we would teach the upper guys in that unit how to teach their people. And so I did that for a year, and that's just like invaluable experience, being on that range and running a range and working with guys that are literally carrying guns for their living every single day, was just interesting. And I really got just inundated in that. And, so that was kind of how I really, really got brutally into guns. And then if you want me to tell the story of how WLS started, I'm happy to.
Well, I don't know. Let me see if I have another question. How did you start WLS?
Well, I'm glad you asked.
It's supposed to be a joke. Hold on.
Perfect.
All right. I've got some special effects here. And I'm getting signals from the peanut gallery like, push the special effects buttons. And I don't know. I can't. I mean, I'm not a multitasker. All right. I'm just saying.
It was perfect.
Thank you.
It was perfect.
All right. So, no, seriously. Yeah, I do want to understand what that looked like. I mean, again, you first discovered guns, but then this broadcasting thing, the media piece, is an entirely different love affair.
Yeah. So as I was driving down that path at breakneck speed, and I mean, I was practicing every day. It had become a huge part of my life by that point. Maybe like a year into it, I had a friend and he said, do you want to build an AR-15? And I said, well, I'm fine with the pistols. I don't really know what an AR-15 is. Like I know, I could tell you that is one, but I don't know how to put one together. And he's like, it's easy. Anyone can do it. So I said, yes, we did it. It was awesome. Aaron and I had been friends for a while by this point. Maybe 10 years.
Right.
And he's like, well, I bet that we can get companies to send us stuff. And my response is, yes.
Yeah.
And my response is, we don't know anything. Why would anyone send us anything?
Exactly.
And he said, I bet we can. And since I was a software developer and an engineer, I had been running my own web development company on the side for about a decade by that point as well. And I was like, okay, well, I'll just build us a website. We'll post articles on that website and we'll just have fun doing it. And like a week later, he got someone to send us an AR-15.
You wanted free stuff and free guns, right? Or free gun parts.
I wanted to document my projects under a pseudonym. Okay. So I built us this website. We debated for a couple days on the name, and finally I was like, whatever, it's wheelie shooting, I don't care. And so we started this website.
Executive decision.
Yeah. After about a month, we decided that it was so much work. And, I had my full-time day job at a Fortune 50 company. I had my own side business that was like full-time. I was coding until 4 every morning and then also 50. Teaching every weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're busy.
And,
even then.
Always. Yeah. My main goal in life is if I'm not earning money to support my lifestyle, then I need to be learning something and just getting better at something. Yeah. And at that point, we decided it was just too much time and that we needed to find other people who Aaron could get products in for, and we send them to them, and then they write us articles. And then we have this website that had grown by a little bit by that point, and we just decided we need other people. So we went to Reddit, and we just looked for people who knew like what they were talking about, but they also had to kind of be jerks. So we found Jeremy Posderick, we found Nick Lynch, and we found Savage 1R. And just Jeremy had posted like a picture of this armory that he welded in his basement, and that was cool. Nick had argued with me like 6 months earlier about AKs, and he was totally right. I didn't know anything. Yep.
On Reddit. Nick is a gunsmith, right?
Yes, I would say he is a gunsmith, but he's done a ton of stuff. He worked at companies in Montana like Proof Research and all kinds of stuff. His guns that he built at Proof have been on the covers of magazines, and he's just a really smart guy.
Yeah.
And Savage looked like he knew the news. So we asked him. Yeah. Eventually, once we convinced him that this wasn't some kind of multi-level marketing scheme, they agreed. And this was, again, just to write articles for the website.
Right.
So at that point, I listened to a ton of tech podcasts. And Savage also listened to a bunch of gun podcasts, and he said, we should do a podcast. We used to get together like once a week on video chat just to talk about the projects, and honestly, it just kind of turned into a shooting the breeze session.
Right.
And then Savage recorded one of those, and without us knowing, sent it to the owner of the Firearms Radio Network at that time, who was Jake Challand, and said, would this be a good podcast? And Jake said, record me a pilot and I'll let you know. And then Savage came back to us and told us what he did. And I said, absolutely not. I don't have any time for that. I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
I'm a control freak. And then like the next day, I think I acquiesced and said, you know what? If we can do it my way, then let's try it and see what happens.
Right.
And that was a decade ago.
That's awesome. Wow. So it was literally a shoot in the breeze session was your pilot. You send that over and somehow you get convinced, and only in the condition that you're in control, because you're a control freak. Not only are you the control freak of the podcast, but somehow you end up then buying or owning the Firearms Radio Network. So you're a super duper controlled freak.
Well, I seem to get into all this against my will. Like I didn't want to do a podcast, but then I said, well, I guess we could probably do it as long as we do it like professionally. We had to sound good, be good, and do well instantly overnight. And I was like, I'll take that all on my shoulders. You guys just show up and talk. And then the network, we ended up 5 years after that, we ended up the number one show on the network. He emailed me and said, you guys are number one. A year after that, so 4 years ago maybe, he messaged me and said, I want to sell the network. I'm going to offer it to you first. And of course, I told him no, because that's my MO. Don't want to do it. Don't have the time to do it. And then overnight, I thought, what if he sells it to somebody else and they try to control me? I know how that's going to go. So I told him I agreed. And then I've just been working to build the network ever since.
Well, that's cool. Well, I got to tell you, so that's Becky's strategy. She's like, Eric, why are we trying to build this brand on our own? Becky. And she said, why don't we just go buy everybody? Yes. I'm like, okay, easier said than done. And we're going to go with plan A and build this thing. Now you've got a great collection of guys. Each of them is sort of a little bit different. I think it's the melting pot of shooting fans and fanatics that makes it special and so entertaining. I mean, you guys are just a riot to listen to.
It's fun. It is fun, and honestly, the fact that all of us have stayed together. I'm not saying that we never have any personality conflicts. Mostly, it's me with Aaron, or Jeremy with Aaron, or Nick with Aaron. Like we do, but we handle them somehow well enough to survive. I mean, after a decade of every single week, one night out of all of our lives, every single week. Well, for years, it was 2 nights a week. And then just somehow we've all we're still doing it, still having fun. Aaron and I started this thing.
Yeah. And
I'll be honest, like I am a control freak and I knew that it had to be done a certain way, but without Aaron, like this doesn't happen.
Yeah, like, I know. He's a smart guy. He's definitely very creative and a lot of fun. And, very quick. You guys are quick on everything. So I appreciate that about you guys. And I'm always amazed, like, wow, these guys know a little bit about everything.
We have fun. I don't know if you've heard some of the new episodes. We added some new segments, and one of them is called Hot Seat, where I give the guys, 5 seconds to make the world a better place. I give them a topic. They have 5 seconds to come up with solutions. But another one is gunfights. And this one is, we kind of copied movie fights or something like that. But basically, Nick will give us a topic, and then we have 1 minute to basically debate our point of that topic. And then we have 1 minute to rebut everybody else's. And that's, I guess I should have known much earlier, but that's when I realized how smart all of us can seem to be sometimes. Not that we are, just how smart we can seem sometimes, because it's really hard to debate stuff that you don't believe in, don't care about, don't really know anything about, but it's a really fun segment.
Well, you can't fake it. No, I think I was there at the debut of that whole thing. I was your guest that night, and it was awesome. It was great.
That's right.
It was a lot of fun. Yeah. You guys did a good job.
It's gotten
I was
better
very
and better.
impressed. Yeah, right. Well, that's cool. So, what is the most fun, favorite thing about the podcast? I mean, aside from you guys getting together and drinking liberally that evening once a week, that's your excuse to get out and go into the basement and drink whiskey.
I think my favorite part is the guys. Like in the last decade, they've become some of my best friends, and I spend more time with them than any of my other friends. And as an extension of the podcast, when we go to events, like we have fun and we laugh so hard we almost pass out, and it's a common theme. So it's the guys and it's the community that we've built and the listeners. So many people started out as listeners that are dear friends to this day. And there's just this unique energy, something about We Like Shooting, and I guess our honesty right. brings the best out of people. And it's just a really cool environment to be in. And I think that with those guys, I know, like with the cast of the show, when I screw up, they're going to tell me, and they're not going to mince words. They're not going to care about my feelings. Yeah. And they do. And I just think having fun with people like that is one of the most rewarding environments that I've ever been in.
You've got your fans, the folks that have been with you for a long time, but you've got to have your share of haters too. There's got to be folks out there that are just trying to knock you down and rebut and refute everything that you have to say and everything that you believe. But I know you pride yourself on having, an open mind and very rational conversations. But man, it just seems like, it's ripe for the people that will just yell at you because of what you believe, because of what you hold dear. How do you deal with those haters?
I'll be honest, we don't have a lot of haters. I think that because of the way we speak our minds freely and openly and don't really care about other people's feelings, I think we generally don't get any. We do have people leave us reviews on occasion, not many. I think in 10 years, we've had maybe 20 one-star reviews.
Wow.
And we lean into them. If we get a bad review, we sell on our website a shirt of one of our one-star reviews because I thought it was hilarious. And I don't think he meant to be hilarious. It just turned out that it was hilarious.
That's funny.
And if someone talks crap in a review, we talk crap right back on the air live. Right. And we have our platform that they can't even rebut on. So
just hit
that's what I love.
Button. So you send them a shirt with a 1-star on it. Is that your way of saying, heard you, but go screw yourself? Is that what you do?
Sometimes, if we can figure out who they are, because a lot of people do it anonymously because they're cowards. But if we can figure it out, we absolutely would send them a shirt with their 1-star review on it. And, we don't get a lot of haters because I don't think people don't want to debate somebody who's going to debate them back. People want to attack somebody who's going to be an easy victim, and not one of us is an easy victim. And if they want to attack us verbally or whatever, it's going to be a battle. And I think most people shy away from that because generally they're cowards, especially the ones who would do things like that.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's so easy to be an anonymous troll and not have to show your face. So we're a company that's all about giving people what they need so they can get through arduous situations, as you know. And it was so cool when you guys, I think it was a bit of a stunt. Can we make it for a month without eating anything but nutrient survival? And it actually worked for you. You felt better. You looked better. You lost weight. You felt good, right? And anyway, I think we know that story a little bit, but the point is food is a part of it, a big part of it. And I don't want to talk about food and nutrition and that sort of thing, but what role does security and sort of, I guess, guns, because that's what you're a true expert in, aside from the cyber stuff. But what does that have? What role do you think that has to do with being prepared?
Whenever I think about the end of civilization or anything, what went on 2 years ago, whenever I think about anything, it's like, how do I get this? How do I acquire this? But then the road always leads to, how do I defend this from others who should wish to take it from me? Whether it's your life, your car, your food, your water, just everyday life, and also the apocalypse. That's what I think about. And I guess, 10 years ago, I was like, I want to be a better man. And I made a list of medical and shooting and all these different things. Mm-hmm. But shooting and being able to defend oneself, that naturally given right, I think is the most important of all of them. Because with those skills, abilities, and equipment, nobody can take anything away from you. And not to say that people will be loot drops in the end of the world situation, but that's what a lot of people will be. Like a video game, when you take out the bad guy, they leave gold behind. Like that will be a lot of people in any kind of end of the world scenario. Like that's just the way it is. And I don't want to be a loot drop.
There you go. It's like Thanos clicking his fingers.
Right.
Go collect that gold. There you go.
Exactly. Yeah. I don't want to be that. So, while I do enjoy firearms and while they're fun, they're my hobby, they're my profession, ultimately it all comes down to the fact that it is to protect myself and my family. Okay. If someone should decide that our possessions are more important than our lives.
There you go. I had a little video put together by a former Special Forces Green Beret. His name's Randy Rawhide Worst, and he is he's one of the original horse trainers, horse riders in Afghanistan, and teaching all these guys how to get through the mountains on horses and stuff like that. So he's the real deal. Grew up in Wyoming. He's got a little bit of Native American blood in him and all that. And he did a video and he talked about the best prepper weapons. And I mean, I know we've talked about 22s before, but man, he was all about the 22. And I'm like, wow, this is a Special Forces guy and he's talking about a 22. And for his pistol, he had he had sort of a conversion kit where you could fire a couple 9mm or 22s, and I think it was a VZ. And then he talked about 22s are great for knocking out people's kneecaps if they're after you, and also for plunking backyard animals that he has appropriately lured onto his property to serve as food in those situations. He sort of cultivates that, I guess. It's very interesting. So a 22, and I'm like, wow, not. I don't think for me that would be my first choice. But what would be your first choice?
I always understand that mindset, and then I shoot a 22, and I'm like, I cannot stand 22. I'm very publicly anti-22, not because it doesn't work, not because it won't kill me. Like I don't have any delusions that it can't do the job, but there's so many other cartridges that are out there that I would rather have, right? Like I can take an AR-15 and hunt with it. I hunt any game, and yes, you can kill any game with a 22, but I would posit that like you could do that with 223 as well. And then the AR-15 also fits so many other calibers and things like that. I think end of the world scenario, depending on what kind of scenario it is, like I would much rather have something like that. The ammo is just as ubiquitous. In fact, I remember a time in the last couple of years where 22 was unobtainable. Mm-hmm. So was everything else. But, if it did come in stock, it disappeared. So I would want something that is easy to get. There's a lot of it out there. And so I would go with, one of those calibers, maybe even 300 Blackout or something like that, because I'm going to be able to take any game in North America with it, with a well-placed shot. And not to say 22 can't, but I just want every opportunity to be successful. And with a suppressor, I don't know. I get 22. That is not the place that I would go. And I'm not saying he's wrong, because he's probably way smarter, cooler, better at everything than me. I just want something different and more powerful and stronger. I don't want to have to rely on perfect shots every time.
For him, I think it is about the multi-purpose, use of the 22 and how it's adequate. And certainly, if you saw his video on backyard baiting, that's what I'll call it, backyard baiting. I mean, he was putting out suet for woodpeckers. I'm like, okay,
nice.
If you use AR-15 on a woodpecker, it's probably not going to give you a whole lot when you pick it up off the ground, right? Well, we have a lot of women as well that are preppers and take this stuff pretty seriously. Do you have any thoughts about what might work in their situations? For a woman, would you still recommend the AR-15 or 300 Blackout or something like that, or maybe something a little less or more? I don't know.
I guess it really depends on what scenario it is, right? Like if it's the end of the world with zombies, I want the biggest thing that I can carry a ton of ammunition in. And, a 22 has 25 round BX mags, whereas an AR-15, 30, 50 round drum mags. Yeah, you can get 50 round drum mags for 22s as well, but they're unreliable and awful. So like zombie apocalypse, I want an AR. I want a suppressed AR. For what we saw, riots and things like that, would I want to defend my life with a 22 or with an AR and 300 or there's 1,000 different calibers that you can get. Pick one. So for women, like an AR, there's no recoil, and suppressed, they're manageable. They're hearing safe-ish most of the time. I just think that ARs are where it would be at. Hiding in the woods like Wolverine style. Again, like if I had to hunt a deer, I would rather take my chances with a 223 or a 300 blackout than a 22. If I needed to tank out a tank column of Russian invaders, I would want an AR, not a 22. If I was killing a woodpecker, I would pick a 22 probably. But for every other scenario that I can possibly imagine, I would want that. And it's for men, for women, like the manipulation, the manual of arms, the operation is simple and easy. I like ARs. I think they're great. I think that they're easy to use and very approachable for every part of the population.
It's probably why we saw a run on ammunition with 22 being out. It's such a ubiquitous gun. I mean, it's. I think for me, it was one of my first guns. My very first was a 30-30 Winchester 30-30 lever action for my dad. But then, everyone's got a 22 sitting around, so it's one of those. So speaking of ammunition, how much ammunition should you have on hand? Because preppers get all the blame for buying up all the ammunition and putting everybody else, on the short end of the stick related to ability to go out and shoot stuff.
Yeah, I don't blame that on preppers at all, honestly, because I'm going to tell you one thing. All the preppers that I know, all the people that prep, all the people that care about this stuff are fiscally responsible, right? They're going to buy what they can afford when they can afford it. I don't think that's panic buying. I think that's smart buying. You're going to buy what you can. You're going to live within your means, and you're going to save the stuff until the day comes that you may need to use it. The people that I think are the ones panic buying are the ones who want to flip it on AmmoBot or whatever the ammo. I don't even remember the website. They're flipping it on Gunbroker. They buy it all up. They run their credit cards up. They sell it at a huge premium and profit. Like those are the ones that we need to worry about. So anyone who blames a prepper is a loser, in my opinion, because I don't think it's them at all, because they are the ones who are generally fiscally very responsible, and they're not the ones buying outside their means and running the stores. I don't think.
That's it. No, they've already got their ammo typically.
Yeah.
So my dad, he loads his own. Do you load your own?
I do.
Yeah.
I've got in the other room here, I've got a couple reloading presses, 4 actually. Mm-hmm. But I've only got 2 that I use. I have a Rock Chucker RCBS Supreme, and then I've got a Dillon 750 XL.
Do you remember the first time you fired your own ammunition? Was that a little interesting, a little scary?
Yeah, I got into it by myself. I was shooting a ton, and I started shooting competition at some point in there, and I needed to load my own ammo. So I bought the cheapest progressive press that I could, which was a Lee Pro 1000, and it was absolute garbage. I've got 2 of them for sale for like $9 each if anyone wants them. And I went and I shot it, and I wore gloves, and it was a little bit nerve-wracking. And then you realize that, okay, this is a little bit harder to screw up badly than I thought it was. And then I screwed up badly. But I was nervous, and still even to this day, just a little bit, but I try to pay careful attention when I do it.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. I don't know if it was the smartest idea to say, let me go get the cheapest reloader I can find and make a highly explosive, cartridge, right? And let me go then fire this through my weapon and see what happens. I mean, you're starting to sound like the Army there. Going with the lowest bidder on your weapon system. That's the joke of the age always. But you made it through it. Yeah.
I did. And it wasn't without instance. I had 2 squibs, a squib being it comes out of the case but lodges somewhere in the barrel. And both of them were during competition when I was shooting quickly and not paying as careful attention. I did not fire another round. One of them, the RSO caught and yelled stop before I could shoot again, which saved probably a trip to the ER. Yeah, it was really good. And then the second one wouldn't fully go into battery. And it was at that point, so the Lee Pro 1000 that I bought, not to disparage them by name, but I will because they're awful. They don't drop powder consistently. And if you don't visually look in every single round, which can get tedious and tiring, and, now I've got mirrors and cameras set up, so it's a lot better and easier. But, I stopped reloading for a while after that because I was like, all right, clearly I need to buy better stuff, and I'm not prepared to do that yet. And now I've got really good stuff, and it works well.
Well, that's good. I mean, you're a pro. I kind of think about ammunition like I do beer making. I used to think beer making was so, the rage, and so proud to make my beer, and all the work that was involved, and securing the ingredients and getting the big 5-gallon deal percolating and adding all the, all that stuff and heating it up and getting to the right temperatures and the bottles and sanitizing them and capping. I mean, and it was like, all right, here it is. And typically you pop the cap on that and you're like, oh man, this is so bad. But there's a little bit of pride, right? A little bit of pride. But over the years, I've learned that it's just much, much easier. Just go buy it. Just go buy it. Same thing with ammo. Just go buy it. I mean, maybe it's a skill you need to have for sure, right? In an end of world situation, you probably are better off knowing how to reload brass. But geez, it's a lot of work. Yeah.
Here's the thing. Here's how I look at it. So when ammo was impossible to get, like 2 years ago, I had reloading presses, and I was able to load some ammo to continue doing what I do, or however I wanted to use that ammo. And then eventually I started getting low on components, but stuff had started to come back. So I've been resupplying all my components pretty regularly here. And I don't load every single day, especially for pistol or AR or anything. Yeah. I buy that. But when it becomes scarce again, now I have all the components to load my own. So I'm prepared, as it were. But then for precision rifle, like, I can make better than I can buy. And if I really want to dial all the precision that I can out of these cartridges, I pretty much reload that. And that's what I've really been doing more of over the last year, is loading for precision rifle stuff.
Very cool. Fun. So you got this urban assault vehicle, the RV, very original, the RV. How's the mileage on that these days?
So I'm getting ready to take it out for the summer. We literally just had a big snowstorm a couple weeks ago, so I was waiting, and literally 2 weeks ago we had over a foot of snow. So good times in Colorado.
Yeah, there you go.
So we have this RV. We teamed up with one of our advertisers, Swamp Fox Optics, and they basically provided us the RV, and we wrapped it in Swamp Fox, and we like shooting. And it's got a big, huge, rotating 10-foot flamethrower turret on the top of it, and it's just awesome. Yeah, it's awesome.
That's cool.
And so the goal is to just kind of drive around the country and go to a lot of the events that we go to already, and just have some fun with it. And it's big and bold and gets tons of stairs, but I don't care. So yeah, with the gas, I mean, I think it was $3 last summer when I took it out, and now double that?
But you don't mind, right? You feel like a good American paying $6 a gallon, don't you?
I'm not going to lie. Swamp Fox pays all the gas. I'm sure they mind.
We are never going to sponsor the RV. Okay, I'm just saying. So, what's the sketchiest place you've ever been to?
The sketchiest place we've been with it? Mm-hmm. So far, nowhere. We did break down. Yeah, we did break down in Lyman, Colorado, the first outing, and had to be towed back. And that kind of stunk, mainly just because it was 2 hours from anywhere. So
that would totally suck. Are you kidding? You're like, all right, here we go, load it all up, and 2 hours later breaks down. You got to haul it back to the starting point. Really?
Yep. Had to cancel the trip and everything. The garage finally figured out what it was, and we got it fixed. And then we were able to take
gas tank.
It was honestly, it looked like something had chewed on some of the electrical lines, and it grounded off the transmission on a bumpy road.
Yeah. Man, I'll tell you, I have one story. I had these freaking rodents. They like to gnaw things. So exactly what you're talking about. It's why you need a 22. I don't like shooting animals. I know you've really recently found a new love of hunting. And anyway, but so we had this grill out in the yard, one of these island grills, and walking by and like, man, something smells like gas, and what the heck is going on here? And sure enough, one of these squirrels had crawled into it, or mice, or whatever it was. I think it was a mouse, actually, and gnawed through the tubing, and completely gnawed through that tubing, and the gas was just like, just nonstop.
What?
Yeah, totally. So I'm glad it's a good thing that they put a something in that gas to allow you to smell it. I don't know, the smellant or whatever they call it. What do they call it?
Yeah.
Something to make it smell.
Odorant or something.
The odorant. Yeah, the smellant. And so, it was a good thing so that we didn't, crank up the grill and have a big, that would have been bad.
Exactly. A funny anecdote. So a buddy of mine has a really nice Dodge Charger. And in that year of his Dodge Charger, they made the sheathing that goes around the entire wiring harness for the entire vehicle biodegradable. And it turns out that it's delicious to squirrels. So
it must have been the same stuff my tubes were made of.
$5,000 to replace it. It's happened to him twice.
Oh my gosh.
Squirrels just eating the sheathing around the wiring harness. Terrible.
They love it. It sharpens their little teeth or something. Helps them on the acorns later when they need it.
Exactly.
Well, so you do like shooting. You do like
I do.
Now hunting. And I've noticed that you wear a coonskin cap or a coonskin on your tack helmet. What is the story behind that? I mean, it's become a little bit of a signature, hasn't it?
Kind of, I guess. Yeah. So what happened was, Ranger Point Precision invited me to go to the first ever tactical lever action course taught by Chris Costa, formerly of Magpul Dynamics and now Costa Ludus, and just like, instructor that's been in the biz and basically started the biz with Travis Haley and Magpul in the beginning. And I was like, yeah, absolutely. So when I'm going to these events, I know I'm going to be around a bunch of like gun industry celebrities, and then it's just me, this dumb podcaster. I like to stand out. So I thought it would be funny if I took a coonskin hat, but instead I just ordered, what is it? The skin off of Amazon, stapled Velcro to the inside, and then just put it on my tactical helmet. And they started calling me Daniel Goon, which I thought was awesome. Pretty hilarious.
Yeah.
And so I still have it. It's fun. I'm going to do a skunk next.
A skunk would be even more of a stand-up. But I tell you, so Amazon is selling dead animal skins now? You got to be kidding me.
Oh, yeah. I ordered them straight off Amazon Prime.
You ordered coon skin, like tanned coon skins with the tail to staple onto a tack helmet off of Amazon.
It's got the little face and everything. It is a legitimate grade 1 raccoon skin that I ordered from Amazon Prime.
My wife, she is completely anti-Amazon. Everything she puts up, she makes sure that it's not from China. And I'm like, baby, she is, she's a good woman, but she doesn't order anything from Amazon anymore because it's all come from China.
100%. And I'm sure that this raccoon was not treated ethically. But
I can't believe
it was only like
do they sell
$25.
skunks? Yeah, they sell skunks on there too.
You can find hides for a lot of different animals on Amazon.
Right.
I ordered fox piss from Amazon yesterday.
I've ordered that. That's not so. Yeah. That's not so awkward or so weird. Well, why did you order it? I'll tell you why I ordered it.
So our utility company decided that at the office building where we like shooting headquarters decided that we couldn't have this chain link fence that blocks off this little courtyard area. So they took it down just without telling anyone. And homeless people, as they walk by, would decide this is a very nice place for me to live. So we have cleared it out and the fence is being rebuilt. In the meantime, I've sprayed all the rocks with Fox P.
To keep the homeless people out? That works?
Yes. Oh, it smells so bad. It smells so bad. It's awful.
I love Colorado. I was in Denver last year, and it was when all of the statues were boxed up. They were literally plywood over all the statues and monuments everywhere. I'm like, this is ridiculous. Can we please just get on with life and focus on more important things than putting plywood barriers around all of these monuments? This is ridiculous.
Yeah, so, Denver being the big bustling metropolis that it is like the Chicago of Colorado.
Oh man, I was getting high walking in the morning. There's pot everywhere, and anyway, it is what it is. Okay, God bless America. America. Makes us
agree.
special. Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah. Well, I ordered the Fox P, actually it was Wolf P.
Mm-hmm.
You only got the Fox version. There's Wolf. It's stronger.
Is it stronger in the smell? I'll order some. I got the Fox P off Prime as well one day.
Yeah. Yeah. No, this was Wolf. When I was in Maryland, I think it was 2020 or 2019. There was a duck that decided that it was going to nest in my yard, and this duck laid all these eggs. There's like 9 or 10 eggs. Laid these eggs in my yard, under the bush, and then this duck abandoned her nest, and I ended up I was looking at these eggs, these beautiful eggs, just sitting there for days. I'm like, they're going to start to rot and stink, and she's not coming back. She is a deadbeat mom. So she took off, left me with a clutch. I think they call them a clutch of eggs. And so I took these. I went to the farm store, Tractor Supply. I bought an incubator, and I put these eggs into the incubator. 28 days later, because that's what it takes. Sure enough, I had 9 ducks. Okay.
What?
I think there was one that was a dud, but all the rest hatched, and they hatched within, I'd say, 2 hours of each other. It was the most amazing thing. And I've got all this documented, of course, because I was really into it. And so I became the duck king, and I raised these ducks. They're dirty. Oh my gosh, these things are so dirty. But they were a lot of fun. Just a lot of fun watching them. I had a very difficult time getting rid of them, but we have fox in Maryland, and in order to deter the fox from the duck pen, I went and secured Wolf Pea to spray around the duck pen. And then the other thing we did
makes total sense.
Yeah, no, we were ingenious, and we then also took these 4th of July spinners, that these windmill things that you can buy, and we put those into the yard to create movement. And then we also, I went nuts keeping the fox away.
Yeah,
I turned on a radio 24/7 that was like people talking on the radio. Okay.
Gotcha.
To again deter the fox. So that was my adventure, and I didn't lose a single one. So I'm proud.
That's awesome. First of all, ducks are amazing. Chickens, I've raised a bunch of chickens from chicks, and not as like egg producers. They did, but it was just because I wanted to try it, and they are awesome, and they're great pets.
Chickens, yeah, chickens, backyard.
I love animals.
Look at you, you're a farmer. So you ever seen that show Fear Factor? Remember that?
Yeah,
Joe Rogan. Yep. I think that was his first real kind of celebrity venturing, wasn't it? The host of Fear Factor.
Probably, yeah. Like around that era, because he was on several things at that point. But yeah, I bet it was.
I think that was the first that I remember seeing Joe Rogan, and then he went UFC, and he was great there. And then of course he came out with the Joe Rogan Experience and all that stuff. So the question I have for you is Fear Factor. There were always these, the stunts and deals that you had to do, whether it's getting up on, a ladder or walking across a tight rope, right, over the water, and it's windy, and, you're 50 feet up, or you're, eating goat balls, or you're crawling through a den of pit vipers, right? All these things. I used to love that stuff. I would say to myself, I can do that. I'm not afraid of heights. I'm typically not afraid of much, but I'm curious for you. What is your biggest rational or irrational fear?
Heights, probably, which is great because I fly everywhere constantly. And, over the last probably 15 or 20 years, I've set out, I guess just by nature, I'm kind of afraid of everything. So I set out to conquer all of those fears. Like I was afraid of snakes. So I found an amateur herpetologist and went out and caught rattlesnakes with him for an entire day. Now I'm not afraid of snakes anymore.
There you go.
I was freaked out by iguanas, and just a couple months ago, I went to Florida and hunted iguanas in the canals with a Python cowboy. And, so like I try to conquer all my fears, but heights is the one that like sticks with me no matter what. And of course, I'll go over to the edge of a cliff and stand there just to prove to myself that I can. and even flying still to this day. So I think that my biggest fear, my irrational fear, is just heights, or, I probably even take that one step further and being out of control, being in a situation where I have zero control over the outcome, which manifests as heights, I guess.
Yeah, totally. We do not have wings. We will not float.
No.
Well, you could jump out of perfectly good aircraft. There's a lot of people that do that for a living, and probably not too hard to find an airplane to jump out of. And
yeah. Nah, I'm good.
Go for it, man.
I'm good. I'll hang out with the snakes, but I don't want to jump out of a plane.
Yeah. That's interesting. It's sort of a reptile thing. You got some reptile issues.
And spiders. So I went and held a bunch of spiders. Now I'm not afraid of it. Like if I'm afraid of something, I try to conquer it. The only one that I still just makes me nervous is heights. And I'm not an anxious flyer or anything. Like I can fall asleep on planes, but it always freaks me out.
Yeah. There's something programmed in us that sets off a button when you're looking over the side of something, like, even though you're, maybe on a ladder or one of these swinging ladders across something, if you just kind of peer over, it's just sort of this innate thing. You can't really fight it a whole lot.
Yeah. Maybe it might even be like this, that's one of the few times is standing on the edge of a cliff, or, being up in the sky, you realize how small you actually are in the grand scheme of things. Maybe it's like all those psychological issues that manifest as fear of heights for me.
Right. Cool.
That's deep.
Yeah, that is deep. It's deep. Being in control.
I'm trying to give you unheard content ever.
I know.
I've never uttered those words out loud.
You're going to catapult us to the #1 survival prepper podcast in the U.S. on the Firearms Radio Network.
You should be. I know a guy.
So this guy that I heard he got recently engaged, and it may not be, it's not kind of new news because it's been several months now, but you've got a mark on the calendar where you're actually going to tie the knot?
Yep, we sure do. May 4th, Star Wars Day. We met 3 years ago on May 4th, and she was wearing a Star Wars shirt, and like Star Wars has always been a huge part of my life. We're not going to have like R2-D2 at the wedding or anything, but we just thought that day, because we met that day and just like, how important it was to both of us, and we decided that's the day.
Star Wars, yeah. No, that's really okay. I don't think I knew that. In the We Like Shooting visual pictograph, whatever that is, you're there like, Luke with a saber, and she's hanging on your leg, right? April's hanging on your leg like Princess Leia was with Luke in the original Star Wars poster.
Aaron decided when he was doing our iTunes art that he was going to Photoshop her into it as well. And the original art that we doctored and changed and pay tribute to was Clinton and Lewinsky.
I'm glad this is at the end of the podcast. We've probably lost most of the listeners by now. The Clinton Lewinsky, man, that's been a long time. Wow, the blue dress.
Yep.
How can we forget that? Yeah.
I know.
That's good. So, well, good luck on that. So you're going to get married on the 4th. That's next year? Because you missed this one.
Yeah, we're going to be married on the 4th. Yeah, we did. Well, I think I proposed right after that, actually. So
that was smart.
May, June. Yeah.
Good call. Push it off a year.
I needed time, just to be sure.
Yeah. Okay. Well, hey, I really appreciate everything. Taking a little time, talking to the little nobodies like us here for a bit. You've been an awesome partner for us. Thank you. So I have one final question for you that we'd like to ask. So if you, Shawn Herrin, are on a deserted island, you're a castaway. Remember this guy with the volleyball, right? So that that's all he had. But if you're a castaway on a deserted island, not a desert island, but a deserted island, because if it's a desert island or a desert island, you have to eat it. But if it's a deserted island, what would that one thing that you'd want to have with you be?
A telephone that worked.
That's 2 out of 2. Come on, there we go.
Yeah, like if I could have a telephone with service, that would be number 1. If not, I guess maybe like I would say something utilitarian, like a water filter, like a life straw or a compass or something like that.
A compass on a deserted island. That would be a good choice, a compass, so that you could get around on your deserted island.
Or antibiotics.
Antibiotics. from the iguanas.
If I'm on that island and it has iguanas, I'm good to go. That's all there is to it.
I think that's about it, Shawn. Thank you so much again. Yeah. Any final words of wisdom for our Wolfpack listeners before we let you do all the other stuff that you do so well?
No, man. Just thank you for having me. I'm decidedly the least interesting person that you've had on the show, without question. But thank you guys for all the support. We appreciate it. I'm really glad you're doing a podcast. I think that more people need to do it. And the thing that I say at the end of every We Like Shooting episode is literally how I live my life, and that's choose dangerous freedom over peaceful slavery. Do it every day and everything that you do.
Right on. Great advice. Thank you. All right, Shawn. God bless you, brother.
Thanks, man. Appreciate you.
See you.